Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and to Shark Week. Today we are on part 3, which is Open Water and the Open Water sequels. Now, just like most of these movies that I've been talking about, I had not seen any of these before, didn't really know much about them. I think what happened was last year, right after I started this channel, I had the idea to do a Shark Week week. And I looked up when Shark Week was, and I had just missed it. So I went online and looked up the most popular shark-related franchises and picked some movies from there. And then I waited until Shark Week this week. So I've had this for about a year. Haven't watched it though. So I don't know why I keep taking my pencil out. I'm not taking notes. I'm reading notes. Let's get into my notes. So this movie, Open Water, I didn't have really much of an opinion. I don't think I had even heard of it. Didn't have any expectations going in, except for maybe, a Jaws ripoff was maybe an expectation that I had. But because I had already watched Deep Blue Sea, and that was an expectation with that movie, and when watching that movie, I realized, oh, it's not, just a ripoff of Jaws. It's different. So even that, I don't think was super present when I was watching it. So very little to no expectations. But the movie starts, and the quality, because it's digital, it's not on film, it's digital video, and the quality is just really bad. And people that are smarter than me can tell you why, but if a film is shot on film, then it can be upgraded over time as technology gets better. But if it's shot on digital, it's stuck at that resolution. And I don't know how, this movie is not that old, I don't think. But watching it on a bigger screen now, you can tell that it's a digital film. And so when that first couple images came up, I suddenly had this big negative opinion of this movie. And my first note is, holy home movie digital camcorder Batman. Because it looked like something that somebody just shot, on their little camcorder or something. And, I looked into it afterwards, and this is a pretty small production that was done by, a husband and wife couple. So it makes sense. It's just a really jarring start to the movie. That said, I actually ended up enjoying this movie quite a bit. So let's get into the rest of it. So they go out on this boat trip to go diving. And as people are getting ready to go in the water, they say they're going to use the buddy system to make sure everybody gets back, at the right time. First of all, the buddy system is stupid, okay? Can I rant about the buddy system for a minute? Because there's absolutely no accountability for what happens if both buddies are missing. And if you're using a buddy system, usually you expect that the buddies are going to stay together, so if one is missing, then the other's probably also missing. The buddy system is a horrible system, especially for children on field trips, but even for, something like this, because spoiler alert, they get left behind. They're left adrift in open water. Horrible. Who uses the buddy system? Bad system. And when you're talking about making sure everybody is back, you can use the buddy system if you're pairing off, but staying at, there's no risk of people being left behind if you just need to partner people up. Buddy system, horrible system. But also, as if that weren't bad enough, there's an odd number of people here. And they don't address that at all. They don't address the fact that there's an odd number of people. To be clear, that's not a complaint against the movie, because I do think that companies are stupid enough to do things like that. It's just a stupid thing for a company to do. So the buddy system fails. Shocker. The count is off because there was a guy who didn't have his mask and then borrowed somebody else's mask, and the guy who was in charge of keeping count of who was on and off didn't notice, apparently, that the guy that had been yelling and screaming about not being allowed to go suddenly was coming back up later. Again, not a dig against the movie, because I do think that the people in real life are that stupid. So boat company screws up, and these two people are left, And I wrote the note down, did the boat company never notice? Because I thought it was odd that we just, for a long while, we don't check in with the boat company. And much, much later in the movie, we do see that the captain of the boat or whatever notices the extra bags that were left by the people that never returned. And so then, you know, at the end of the movie, we see the Coast Guard going out and searching for them and stuff like that. So they do address that. It just takes a while because that's not the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie are the people that were left abandoned. My next note is camera motion sickness equals good. So a lot of people complain about shaky cam in movies and making it hard to follow what's going on screen. And I don't know if I'd call it shaky cam on this, but, you know, they're in the water. And as I've already said, the video quality isn't great in the movie. But while it was probably mostly just a cost thing, because again, this was a very small production, I think it works to put you more in the shoes of the people in the movie, because you're kind of feeling sick and queasy because the camera's moving around just like they're bobbing around in the water. And so it's one of those things where it was probably done because it was cheaper, but it also ended up being the better choice. Whereas if they had done, you know, a high production thing with super close-up shots or whatever, like, I don't think it would have drawn me in as much. And then we have, I believe they're husband and wife. If they're not married yet, they're engaged. You know, they're very clearly together. And they start fighting with each other because they're frustrated and they're tired and they got to keep themselves afloat. And so, you know, people get mad and frustrated. And so they start fighting with each other and arguing and screaming. And so I just wrote people versus people, like Sam Jackson mentioned, because in Deep Blue Sea, Sam Jackson, his character like survived an avalanche or something, and he talks about how, you know, when the things are really going bad, it's not nature that you have to worry about, it's your fellow man. And, you know, I don't think that was intentionally a nod to it, but because I watched all these in a row, it's kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, the sharks are not the primary threat in this movie. The primary threat is just drowning, but the secondary, I guess, antagonist is the other person, right? Just because you're both angry and you've got these unspoken complaints that now all come crashing out at once, and so you get angry at this person, but you don't really want to leave them because then you'll be all on your own. So very, very engaging for me watching the movie. And then my last note is that the soundtrack was mostly songs. That's neither a pro nor a con. That's just something that I noticed. Again, probably because of the low production value. It seems like they didn't have, I don't know, I didn't look it up, but it seems like they didn't have someone that scored the movie. They just put in songs to the background. But a lot of it is pretty silent, which again helps to draw you in. So even though this had a lot less going on in terms of plot and characters and things like that, I was way more invested in this movie because it drew me in so well. And the actors did in my opinion, the actors did such a good job. I was way more interested in this movie that I could certainly see someone else calling boring. But for me, it was very, very engaging. Wasn't on my phone at all. I was glued to the screen. Then we get to the sequels. My only note for Open Water 2 is found footage starts. So it makes it seem like, because the first movie was loosely based on true events. And I guess I won't spoil how it ends because I don't think this is a hugely popular movie just basing on the production value. So check it out. It's really good. But then the second and third movie try to pretend that they're also based on true events, but they're not. And I don't remember about the third one, but the second one actually says based on a true story or some version of that, which it's not. And so it does this found footage thing where it's like, oh, deep sea divers found this camera. The footage may be disturbing and really bad. What do you call that? Framing device. And my only other note for the whole movie is not a sequel. So I don't remember anything that happened in this. I remember one of the sequels, but I don't remember which one it was. So I don't know if it was the second one or the third one. I guess it was the second one. There's one of them where there's this group of people and they go out for like a birthday party, and one of them is afraid of water, and so she's staying on the boat while everybody else is going swimming, and the guy who supposedly owns the boat decides to mess with her and picks her up and jumps off the boat with her into the water, which of course makes her terrified, but also he was the person in charge of lowering down the ladder, which he did not do, so then they're all stuck out, and one by one there are sharks involved. Some of them get eaten. Some of them, I think, drown. One of them swims away, and I don't even remember if she's found again or seen again. And then, of course, people start fighting, so some of them get stabbed because there's a knife going on, and one of them hits his head on the boat. So one by one, they all get taken out, and there's a baby that's left on the boat the whole time. It's that one I would say was entertaining, but I don't think the acting was as good. But again, I don't remember if that one was the second one or the third one. The other one, I think, was the third one. Because my notes for the third one say, more fake found footage, mockumentary. Right, okay, so the mockumentary. Not a sequel, so neither of these are sequels. Bad acting, horrible characters, boring movie. So the third one deals with this guy and his girlfriend who he is planning to propose to, and his brother. And you find out throughout the course of the movie that his brother and his girlfriend are doing stuff together, right? So she's cheating on him. And there's like this cousin that's involved. And so there's fake found footage, but there's also interviews with people that knew them. And again, this is all fake. It wasn't a true story. But, you know, so a lot of the movie is just these three people who are all horrible people. They're horrible characters. Because one of them is just totally self-centered, and then the other two are betraying his trust. So none of them are good people, so I don't care if any of them die. And none of the acting is very good either. So that's the third one. Second one is pretty decent. It's not as good as the first one, I don't think. It's higher production value, which I think makes me less drawn into it because I'm more aware that I'm watching a movie. But still, I had a good time with it, and like I could see myself watching it again. And since it's not a sequel, you know, you could swap it out if somebody wants to watch that kind of movie. Again, these are all different kinds of shark movies. One of them is about a shark coming to your place. One is about a facility where you're working on sharks and then they, you know, start fighting back. This one is about you are out in their waters and you have no way to get home. So very different kinds of movies. And so this one, I think, is the subgenre that I enjoyed the most. And either one of those, I could enjoy watching with someone if they wanted to watch something like that, whether they wanted to watch a smaller budget, more intimate story with less going on, or a bigger budget, more convoluted story with more things going on. Different people respond to different things. Both of those, 1 and 2, I would say, are pretty decent. 3, don't waste your time with. So those are my thoughts on the open water movies, which means tomorrow we're talking about The Meg, and then I'm just going to kind of give my overarching thoughts on all of them on Friday. But that's all I've got to say about these movies. Leave any thoughts that you have down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.